I'm the Wolverine.
Pull the microphone a little bit closer to you.
What's it to you, bub?
It's a lot better.
Yeah, so sometimes I literally have to push it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to push it. Push it real good. Dun, dun, dun,
Okay,
dun.
not the intro for this time.
Damn it. Oh,
People
jam
at home,
it.
we have Lydon, the Wolverine Grossy. And so, this week's intro, until you people at home start sending us good intros, we continue to make our own.
Previously on Lens Flare. Dun-na-na-na-na-na. Dun-na-na-na-na-na.
Yeah, that's it. Snip.
That's it, people. You could.
I don't want to blow out the mic by giving the real Wolverine.
This is 32-bit lossless audio, which means nothing to you probably, but
It doesn't
you
mean
can't blow out the audio.
I won't get the little red marks.
Even when you're red, 32-bit has such degrees of things that.
Degrees of things sounds very scientific.
Yeah,
It
the
really
degrees
is.
of pitch. So
Okay.
like, there's not a point where you're blasting the audio so much that there's not enough math to like record your sound wave.
Yeah,
There's always enough math.
always an infinite amount of
Almost.
almost sounds like a supervillain. There's always enough math.
Math man. Which works with my last name. So there we go.
Oh,
Hey guys.
Math Man Mathis.
Yeah. It's like the lame supervillain where you're like, wait a minute, really? Did you really make your supervillain name out of your real name?
The mighty Math Man Mathis.
Yeah. And now I sound like a superhero. All right, guys, this is our third episode of Lens Flare, the podcast where we talk about Ignis Umbra shoots, things that work, and hopefully things that will help you at home either work better as a model or work better on your own shoots.
This is like our fourth go
Yeah.
at recording this thing. Fate is trying real hard to stop us right now.
But it's recorded, so we're going to keep going.
Okay.
All right. So, this week's episode, we are talking about extreme temperature shoots. And in this case, we're talking about the cold. Most of you people at home have probably seen the video where Lydon as Weapon X is just freezing. He's got a little bit of frostbite going on. We're in the middle of a blizzard, and Kat's asking him, "Is it worth it?" As his he's shivering so much that his equipment is rattling. And what's your answer?
It was absolutely without chattering teeth, like a really rugged individual who can handle the cold. It was totally worth it.
The most interesting man in the world.
Yeah.
Right here with us in the studio.
Boy, do I wish.
You're on your way. So that shoot, we did not get everything we wanted out of that shoot.
No, we had this great plan because there's also like a little mini movie we're going to shoot with me fighting Department H personnel. You'd put a lot of work in to recruit some guys that could give off a pretty gnarly Department H look. You got some of those photos up because you were able to snap some pics of them. Before I got down there, and like
they look great.
The pictures look great. The one picture you got of me before the blizzard came in looks great.
Yeah,
but we only got a fifth of what we were after.
I mean, we even made blood for it.
Yeah,
we made blood for it. We had brought a propane heater. This was our second go. This was our first attempt at this particular movie.
The second year.
Yeah, at the second year.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to bring back, we really enjoyed our first year, but
I had a new costume.
Yeah, you had a new costume, but we learned some lessons.
Also, you got to remember, this is during the pandemic. So, like, I had the new costume and I was supposed to go to the Muscle Nerd to compete, but all that stuff got canceled.
Yeah.
And so this was kind of like, well, I don't want this thing sitting in the closet for a year or two. Would have been 2 years by now of how long the pandemic's been running. So I was like, let's go out there with some friends and shoot this really cool thing with Weapon X.
And I mean, it was really cool. And it looked great. That was the thing.
I've been posting I got a lot of Weapon X pictures on my page. That very first one, especially the way the blood looked on the claws, I get a lot of positive feedback. That's the one I probably get the most positive feedback for.
The forest looked the way I wanted it to look. It just felt right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It didn't, the second time we went up, so we, the first year we went up, we got a lot of flack from people who were like, why are you wearing booties?
I was wearing booties and underwear because I was like, that's how you do Weapon X? I mean, for God's sakes, they had Hugh Jackman in cargo shorts,
Yeah.
And no, I got flack for I thought Weapon X was naked. All right, you sons of bitches.
So we went up and you did it naked with no booties on.
No booties, which that was horrifically miserable.
That was terrible.
The rocks were cutting up my feet.
You made me laugh.
That's because your skin was literally freezing, and then you were stepping on hard things that normally maybe your soft skin would be able to
conform around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. I don't even know.
Can Mr. Freeze just kill Wolverine?
Can he kill the honey badger?
In my headcanon, absolutely. Because he can trap him in a block of ice so he stops. Well, okay. Depends on. Trap him in a block of ice so he stops breathing. That kills Wolverine. But it's also ice. Would he just freeze like Captain America?
Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, well, okay. What if he froze part of Wolverine and then just snapped off your body?
Well,
your head is just laying
he couldn't truly snap it off because of the adamantium. And all the things they've put adamantium through, the only time I know that it's broken was in the Ultimates universe where they said canon it's a little bit weaker. And the Hulk ripped Wolverine in half, and that shattered the adamantium along the spine. I've never seen anything about heat or the cold making adamantium soft or brittle.
There we go. So, you heard it here. Wolverine versus Mr. Freeze. Mr. Freeze can probably put him into some sort of state of hibernation.
Yeah.
But probably can't kill him.
That would be funny if he's shooting off the cold gun and Wolverine just goes finds a bunch of berries to eat and just hides in a cave or something.
He's just gonna eat berries.
Where's Wolverine? He's
he's a little chipmunk.
He's in a fucking bush eating berries.
Is he gonna have berries and cream? Berries and cream.
Berries and cream.
One thing that kind of bothers me sometimes is when they're very literal, his name is Wolverine. So he's going to start acting like a Wolverine or something. And you're out in the forest eating some berries. And it's that's actually kind of legit because Marvel would do some stupid stuff like that.
They always make their things literal.
Yeah. It's
adamantium's unbreakable, or it can cut through anything. So literally it is unbreakable and can cut through anything.
Yeah. Yeah. It's they believe the kind of advertising stuff that the salespeople are pitching. This is a knife that never dulls. That doesn't literally mean it never dulls. It's just a marketing thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But in the Marvel universe, that stuff is legit.
The unbeatable squirrel girl, and so she's got a mutant power that makes her unbeatable. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Mutate power.
Mutate. I thought she was a full-fledged mutant.
Is she now a mutant?
I don't know, man.
In the past, she was supposed to be. She thought she was a mutant, and then it turns out that she's actually not a mutant. She's a mutate, and I kind of hate all the mutates. I hate the concept. Even Nightcrawler.
Spider-Man.
Is he a mutate?
He's a mutate.
I hate that.
The Hulk's a mutate. If you were a bona fide human at one point, right? The differences are you're a human that mutated into a thing, or you were born with the X gene. Those are the two differences.
Huh.
Does an X gene person become a mutate? Fuck, I don't know, man.
Yeah, I don't know. Because does anybody bitten by the radioactive spider become Spider-Man, or only people with that gene?
At one point, I heard Spider-Man was a mutant because he was the only one who could survive a radioactive spider bite like that. So that was his mutant power.
And I think they were kind of going along those directions at some point, because then the people are kind of special, right? It's not just anybody getting bitten by a radioactive spider. It has to be Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Cloak and Dagger in the comics, they originally they get like a drug overdose or whatever, and then Tyrone becomes Cloak, and the other girl becomes Dagger. But then, like in the last couple issues of the original run of Cloak and Dagger, like issue 100, they ended on that issue, and then they were mutants. And so again, it was like they were technically mutants who, when they were exposed to whatever, their mutant powers expressed. Kind of like Deadpool, right? His powers didn't express until after.
I can't remember if he's mutant either. I'll tell you canonically who's not mutant right now, because I've never seen them on Krakoa in the current X-Men run.
Yeah.
Cloak and Dagger are not mutants because they've never been on the island. And the island only allows mutants on. Deadpool's not a mutant. Spider-Man's not a mutant.
Wait, Deadpool's not a mutant anymore?
I don't know. It's Deadpool 1. But 2, I haven't seen him on the island.
Yeah, but I think...
and the island is open to all mutants.
But doesn't it go the other way? Like, just because...
But how do you know?
They said it in like page 1.
But so what? Do you get the tingles? Like, I can go on this island.
No, I mean, it's comic book. So either you're getting cans thrown at you because you're a mutant, so you know to go through the mutant portal.
So Terminator is owned by Fox Films, which is owned by Disney.
Oh, boy.
So does that make Terminator a Disney character? No, not necessarily.
Arnold Schwarzenegger is a Disney princess?
No,
That'd be kind of hot.
He's a Disney princess, right? So
Put him in a
just because everybody
dress.
can go to like the Magic Island, the happiest place on earth, doesn't mean they're gonna go.
Yeah. It's just my only marker right now is have I seen them on the island or not?
Does the island itself like have a barrier that prevents non-mutants from even going there?
No, there's been human mercenaries that have airdropped into the island through complicated means.
Are they now mutants?
So the island exists as a physical thing and anybody can go there. But there's mutant defenses. So if they detect somebody approaching, that's probably going to be a problem. So what's the common way to get there? The common way to get there is by these portals, these plant portals the island itself can create.
Yeah.
And they're configured so only mutants can cross the portals.
Okay. That's fine to me.
And so like that's the test. If you can cross the portal, you're a mutant.
Okay. I accept that.
But the humans can drop in.
They did.
Well, from the sky, right? They're just landing.
Okay, if you want to get me off on a tangent, because I love Jonathan Hickman's run on the X-Men.
We are going on a tangent.
And there's this organization called Orcus, which is like, they gathered all of the smart people, AIM, SHIELD, SWORD, anybody that's been somebody, that gathered to address the mutant problem of the new mutant nation, Krakoa. And at some point, they put together a bunch of Russian mercenaries and airdropped them in. And the mercenaries were outfitted with a bunch of like wild tech and bioengineering so that they didn't like immediately die the second they got onto Krakoa. And I think that's the issue where Professor X got assassinated. He came back a few issues later. Don't worry.
Yeah. All right. So to get back to the cold.
Oh, Jesus.
Yes.
Okay.
So we tried to bring a propane heater.
Yeah.
It didn't work very well.
Oh man, that was a pain in the.
It didn't work for two reasons. It didn't give off a lot of heat.
Yeah.
So it just didn't work in that context.
It didn't do well in the wind either, though.
It kept blowing out. It's meant to hide inside of like a
little tent.
Yeah, it's supposed to be for a tent because there's no way it was going to fight the wind too.
So we could have put it in the changing room tent.
But he was frozen outside.
It was meant to try to keep me thawed in between of pictures.
Before we iced out Wolverine.
Yeah.
But we could have set it up in there, and we could have just told you like, hey, go stand in there while we get everything ready.
I actually almost wondered a little bit more if there's like a lantern for that heater. Right? Like a mini tent that acts like a lantern case that surrounds the flame to keep it from blowing out. And then you got like this pole you're just carrying it around on.
In the end, well, I don't think it would help with the wind.
Maybe not.
In the end, I don't know that there's a lot of mechanisms to help somebody be naked in a blizzard.
Another thing that wasn't helping was the prosthetics I had glued on, which is why one of my pet projects have been to try to figure out how to redo them as silicone.
Yeah.
Because not only were they rigid, And not only did the cold make the glue, like, so it was two problems. The cold made the glue not work too well.
Yeah.
But because of the way they were rigid structures, too much movement was already making them fall off. And they stuck out like this. So then wrapping me up in a blanket in between of shots wasn't going to work. So a different kind of shoot, I think that would have helped a little bit. Just have two people on each side ready to throw a blanket on. But for the kind of shoot we were doing, that wouldn't work. Not a lot of other options beyond that.
Yeah. So I think that we came up with some good solutions, and we went back a couple weeks later and we had good results. So one, I thought that having you wear a thong was the right call.
Well, it did two things, right? It auto censored the pictures.
Yeah.
So it was just like easier to use them anyways.
Yep.
Two, man, I'm telling you, it's because I lived it, right? It was just a thong. But that alone was, it somehow gave me like more confidence or something that I wasn't going to freeze to death.
Because I think everything in the human body is saying protect your reproductive ability. You can lose fingers and arms, but you can still pass on your genes. So there's some animal stuff going on in your head
That's sending off signals.
Yeah, it's saying this is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other things I wish we could have done.
Yeah.
I mean, one part is, right, we talked about it that day of, like, lean into blocking and framing.
Mm-hmm.
So I could have something on my feet. Because the part of it is we wanted that experience of actually being there and, like, showing the audience, hey, look, we did all this work. We're actually there, which means naked feet. So with that, I wish I could have found, we probably have to make it, a pair of Chris Evans Captain America feet boots. Because that's what he wore. Yeah, remember the chase scene just after he became Captain America and he's running through the streets?
Yeah.
He's wearing feet boots.
So I was thinking,
the feet shoes.
and they needed to look like skin though. Yeah.
Okay.
His feet boots were effectively recreations of his feet. So it looks really weird because you have to kind of like look close at the photo because they were doing their job.
Yeah.
You have to like look close at the photo and you're like, holy shit, he's got like Bigfoot feet. What's going on?
Yeah.
Ooh, they gave him Hobbit feet?
It wasn't with purpose, but it wasn't with purpose, but it's still a boot.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that would be amazing if you had feet boots. Wow. Think of it, we could do long scenes.
You got to think a lot of our problems, in this case especially, were like self-inflicted.
Yeah.
Well, no, right? Like my character's out in the cold, naked. Okay, so there's not much clothing options to be worn. My character has all these things sticking out of his body, so I can't just throw blankets on.
Yep.
My character is without shoes. He's shoeless. I mean, in every way possible. This is, I mean, right? It's about as difficult of a shoot you can get out in the cold as you can for somebody who's not adapted to being, because there's some Canadian out there that's going to be like, the fuck is he talking about? I'm listening to you while buried in the snow right now with nothing but boxer shorts on.
Yeah. It's,
I'm not that guy.
I think, I mean, there's a lot of,
acclimated to the desert.
there's a lot of naked boudoir shoots in the snow and stuff too. Like, I mean, women are subjected to this kind of stuff. But there's a physicality that you were supposed to bring. There's a movement and motion and things. But we did a much better job the second time. And I just think, being intentional about like, when do you need to have bare feet and when can you wear booties? And we can just block it appropriately. That's fine.
Also, you should wear a hat.
What?
Beanies are great.
Oh, a beanie? A beanie inside
I did have the helmet on.
No, but...
Oh, inside.
That's a good idea.
A beanie.
We should have done that. That's an obvious one.
I'm sitting here having an experience right now, like
it would have kept you a lot warmer because then it's not escaping from your head.
I know,
the warmth.
I know now that you say
sorry.
it. I know now that you say it out loud.
Well,
Man, guys, right here on the podcast, that was a great idea.
This is, we call this a podcast, but this is actually BTS of us working through a shoot problem because this is about how it always goes. Like, that was a great idea. Why didn't we think of it like 2 days ago when we needed it?
Yeah. Yeah.
we didn't think it was a problem until then.
in general, no matter what costume you're wearing, I think whatever amount of like clothing, beanies, anything like that you can kind of like just tuck in there, it's going to be better, honestly.
We have planned a Wolverine with the wolves shoot.
Yeah.
I don't know how crazy we're going to get with that one, if I'm going to even do feral Wolverine out there. But just imagining if we got to do some kind of feral Wolverine in the snow shoot or that kind of context. Like, right, that would be way easier because I don't have things sticking off of me. And, you know, we would be able to just throw... I imagine that's what you have to do. You got to throw blankets on them in between of shots. And, it, you know, in the Army, this was for... Cold weather was a little bit different since we were from Nevada. We didn't worry too much about how do you address the cold. We always worried about how do you address the heat.
Yeah.
And we have heat indexes and stuff. And it was like, okay, look, if it's this humidity and this temperature, they, like at the highest threat level, it was like, yeah, they work for 5 or 10 minutes and they rest for 45, 50 minutes because otherwise they're just going to get heat stroke. And there was a whole chart that explained it. Like, you don't even need to think about it. Just look at the thermometer. This is how long you can work those guys.
Yeah.
I imagine down in the cold, it's kind of this, unless you're a Canadian, deep North Canadian. I imagine it's relatively the same.
Yeah.
That it's like, all right, you got like 10 minutes to take some photos, and then they got to be under the blanket for 30 minutes.
Yeah, which means that as a photographer or videographer, you're probably going to want to plan multiple concurrent things so that people can hide out in between working with them. And you have to expect that you can't push people. This is very important. You can't push people if they're feeling something, if they're feeling like that they need to stop, they need to stop. In fact, they probably needed to stop before they said they needed to stop at that point. So it's something that you really want to go with a backup plan or multiple people, multiple projects, so that you make sure that the drive and getting all the equipment unpacked and everything, that you didn't waste your time.
Or even if it's just a one project, just, you know, like if it's a photo shoot that takes like 20 minutes, but since you're in this extreme weather environment, that 20 minutes just became 2 hours.
Yeah. Obviously, that depends on the whole team's ability to handle the cold. Because can the whole team and the equipment be exposed to the cold for 2 hours? Because 20 minutes, you might be like, yeah, no, we're fine. We have enough batteries. We have all the things. But 2 hours now, depending on what you're bringing, batteries start draining faster in the cold. So you just want so much backups, so many backups in the cold. You want everything. What's nice is your drinks, they're going to stay cold. So you don't need to bring ice. You don't need to pull a cooler.
Why are you having a cold ice drink out in the snow?
I like my iced tea cold
His iced tea
year
is
round.
always cold.
Jesus. Okay.
My coffee would end up being cold.
I'd want my hot coffee out there.
Yeah. So we're gonna glove you up. We're gonna scarf you up.
Please don't say it that way. Cat phrasing.
No.
Please don't glove me up, cat.
What? It's gross.
There's a lot of things that are not genetic. Like the human machine works like the human machine, and to a certain extent, like the toughest guy ever, they're just going to have heat stroke at a certain temperature. They're not really going to be able to just shrug off the fact that the human machine works a certain way. But on the other hand, there is an extreme variance on how humans handle cold. Some people can't handle it, and then other people can. So you're just gonna have to know your crew and your equipment. Bring backups. Overschedule how much time you think it's going to take, so that if everybody has to go sit in the car and warm up, then they go sit in the car and warm up. Unfortunately, I think a lot of times when people get to the point that they're going to go sit in the car to warm up, it's like if they were out for 20 minutes and then they're like, no, I got to go like sit in the car to warm up. When they get out of the car and they're like, okay, I'm ready. They're not ready for another 20 minutes. In my experience, when they get out, they're going to be ready for another like 10 minutes.
there is this deceptive thing that, because like I'm not working, just standing there waiting for the picture to be taken.
Yeah.
But I'm in fact actually getting like physically devastated. You know, like that's the contrarian thing, that just the mere act of surviving against the cold, because that's what your body is doing. It's doing all the things it has to do to survive. Your human brain will be like, no, I'm fine. The car is 5 minutes that way. Like, it's not a problem.
Yeah.
But your body doesn't know that, and it's expending a bunch of energy trying to survive this difficult situation. So even if it's not a lot of work, you end up just completely exhausted and toasted and wiped out.
Yeah, for sure. So at this point, this is where I feel like everybody at home has a little bit of the feeling of how extreme. And so if you think it's just easy going out there in the snow and taking photos, well, it might be depending on what the people are wearing and everything. But I would recommend everyone be cautious, everyone be safe, and everyone just, try to have a good time and make something cool. But we're going to continue this on the afterwards episode. We don't really have a name for it yet. I just call it the Patreon BTS.
The bonus cast.
The bonus cast. There we go. So if you're a Patreon member, like head on over there and we'll have our follow-up. Otherwise.
Oh, he's not done talking. I should have started waving yet.
Bye, guys.
Oh,
Bye, guys.
I'm late now. I
Thanks
should start waving.
Thanks for listening.